Before we begin, thank you very much to Where's That Dang Third Cyber Key for joining the Patreon campaign. Look, I don't have it. I had the one cyber key I brought to TFCon. I'm out. I'm all out of those. I'm sorry. I don't know where the second one is, let alone the third. Why are you looking for the third? We haven't found the second one. But thank you very much for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for the support. So, since you guys got me to 50,000 subscribers, if you missed it before, I am currently running a contest to win a Lego Optimus Prime. You know, I'm just going to straight up just send you one. If you enter and win, you've got just under 2 weeks to enter. Go watch my previous 50K celebration video in order to find out how to enter. It's extremely easy. Even if you don't have interest, it's a $180 Lego set plus tax and shipping. Like, it's $200 value overall. Yeah, you just drop your name in the hat. Couldn't hurt. So, this is a Patreon request I've been sitting on for a long time because, frankly, I didn't really know how to approach it because there's so many ways of getting this wrong, even in my own mind. So someone asked me what my favorite WTF Transformers are. The ones that just make me go, really? They're doing that? They're making that? That's an actual thing that exists? Because there's a lot of them. There's a whole lot of them. And to be honest, most of them I don't have personal experience with. So if you're asking me what my favorite ones are to play with, I can't help you. I don't have as much experience as I need. But I can tell you which ones, are my favorite conceptually. So I guess we are going off of that. The one I have here is one of their suggestions, which is, the Dead, Prowl, and Ironhide 2-pack from Buzzworthy. The most recent, what are they doing? Now, to me, this one is just frustrating because it's it's really nice figures that are translucent plastic free, which is exactly how I want them. And then you go and do, sculpted in battle damage that I can't do anything about, and it's super upsetting. I would rather just have no translucent plastic on my toys, please. But yes, it is super weird. Someone actually had the idea of, hey, let's do a 2-pack where the main characters in the pack are dying. Considering how many I saw on the clearance rack and how cheap you could get it at one point, I don't think it went over very well. You know what? Maybe that's just as well. But we can look at some of the other ones that I have seen over the years. I mean, as long as we're on the subject. This is alternate universe Optimus Prime, by the way, because they didn't just want to call it Dead Optimus Prime. And yeah, it kind of follows the same idea. Now, it is one of the most legendary and classic moments in Transformer history. It is an iconic moment, possibly the most iconic moment. You're still selling a toy of a corpse, which is super weird and kind of messed up. And the fact that it's not even just a repaint of the Earthrise Optimus Prime, they re-sculpted the head to actually have actual damage to it, which is even worse. Oh my god, it's so weird. It is weird. I mean, I love it because, of course, people are going to want that. Of course, like I said, it's a huge moment in Transformers. You're making a toy of a dead Optimus Prime. This made children cry, and you're making a toy out of it. But you know what? It's not the weirdest idea. I just think it's weird that we now have at least 3 dead Transformers you can buy. More if you start including undead, like the various zombies we have had over the years. Now, conceptually, there are Transformers that they did where I go, wow, I didn't think they could pull that off, or I didn't think they would go there. But they did, and I'm really happy they did. One of them is Korada. I love this toy. It's probably my favorite toy out of Beast Wars Neo. I love the idea that someone actually sat down and decided, hey, we're going to do a transforming snake. How do you make a robot out of a snake? And to be fair, they used a King Cobra, which is going to give them more bulk, and that's kind of the whole key to Korada. But I do love that they pull it off. He does look really nice in beast mode. A little bit thick for a snake around the top section, but you know what? We can forgive it. Still works. And I actually really like the look of the robot mode. He's kind of this old west bandit type with the poncho and the whip ready to go. He looks cool. He looks really cool. Really like this toy. So I just like the idea is the WTF, right? That we can actually make a snake transform. The fact that there's two is even weirder. So this is not the only Japanese Beast Wars thing that I really loved. I also love the Cyber Beast, which is a mental idea in the first place. Let's take year one Beast Wars toys and remold them into these like nightmarish cyborgs. You know, they're Transmetal 2 before Transmetal 2, and frankly do it better than Transmetal 2 did. We see Thrustor on screen, but honestly, I loved all four of them. I own all four of them, and they are fantastic. Love the look of them. Makes me wish that Transmetal 2s were just done like that. Just forget the chrome. Just paint in all the tech details properly. Really love this one. Really loved this whole set. And again, mental idea, right? Mental idea. I loved it so much that I will proclaim one of them one of the most genius figures of all time, and that is one I've talked about a lot, which is Thrusinator. If you watch the daily videos long enough, you know I take every opportunity to bring up this toy because, yes, it is the weirdest idea, but it's also the most brilliant idea. Let's take that weird cyborg beast that Japan made from the Waspinator mold. Let's repaint it to be like this perfect way of taking the end of Beast Machine's result for Waspinator and making a toy out of it. This perfect blend of Thrust and Waspinator. It's genius. It's absolute genius and extremely well executed. I love this thing. I absolutely love this thing. And again, it's the kind of like, what were they thinking? Well, they were thinking brilliance in this case is what they were thinking. And again, one of those, I don't believe it actually exists, but it does. It's amazing. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about other weird ideas that Transformers have done, like crossover stuff. Crossover stuff's really good. So let's, for instance, we can mention the Marvel ones. So the most of the Star Wars ones were terrible, but the Marvel ones were decent. Like I think the idea that they didn't have to stick to a particular vehicle really helped them out and just let them actually craft actual Transformers that functioned. And they weren't half bad, weirdly colored sometimes in order to accommodate the robot, but not half bad. In particular, the Hulk is the one I like the best out of, if I recall them right. It's been a long time. And I haven't, since I owned one, and I haven't gotten to play with all of them yet. But from the ones I remember, the ones I experienced, I think the Hulk nails it. I think the Hulk being a tank, okay, not only is it appropriate because he's known for throwing tanks every now and then, but also, yeah, it's just an appropriate vehicle mode. It just is. And it lets him be this big, gigantic brute of a robot. A little bit Frankenstein, but you know what? It's definitely still strikes the Hulk. Maybe a little bit of purple would have helped. But for what it is, I thought this was great. For what it is, I thought this was absolutely great. And they could have done so much more. I'm not even sure why. I'm not even sure how these things failed. Like Avengers characters as Transformers. You'd think that would be a guaranteed hit. You'd think it would work out. They had a bunch of Spider-Men too. So why didn't this work? Why aren't we still having these? Why aren't they being made? Where's my Deadpool? Where's my Deadpool that transforms into something really ridiculous, like a unicorn? I don't know. I wish we had it. Crossovers get weirder, though. Crossovers get more exciting. For instance, Gigawatt. Or I have to be correct to the movie. Gigawatt. This is like the thing of an 80s kid's dream. I remember one of the very first ideas, like one of the very first crossover ideas anyone came up with was like, yeah, what if the DeLorean from the Back to the Future, what if that was a Transformer? It was one of the original shirt parodies, back when like T-Fury and all of them came up and fan-made shirts like this one started cropping up. One of the first pop culture mashups I ever saw was the DeLorean as, like a Marty McFly inspired Autobot. And it's not Marty McFly inspired, but it's definitely a transforming DeLorean, and it's a beautiful thing. It's like the stuff you just dreamed about. And this is what I kind of hope that all the collaboratives would be like. And granted, some hit the nail on the head, and then others are bizarre. But you know what? It works. It works, and it's a super cool toy, and it's super weird that it actually exists. It's on the list because it's one of those like what if scenarios you never thought would actually happen. Now it's on my shelf. Now it's actually there, and it's incredible that it is. And if we're talking like WTF crossovers, if we're talking about just like I can't believe this actually happened, we have to talk about the Mega Drive Megatron. And inversely as well, we could talk about like the PlayStation Prime as well. But really, like, we have to go back to the consoles of like the late 80s, early 90s. We have to get into the Transformer realm properly. And I feel like the Mega Drive comes a lot closer than the PlayStation does to that point. And just the idea of like, here's a very successful and popular, well-known console, and it's going to be Megatron. Now it works here. It works here because the black works for Megatron, so they don't have to do anything weird like they did with like G.I. Joe Transformers, where it all has to go onto his back because the robot has to be gray. No. This works fine. And it's just a super weird idea, like a toy Genesis that transforms. And the biggest thing, I think the biggest WTF of all of this, for a lot of people, is why didn't they do the Super Nintendo? You'd think that'd be an obvious. You'd think that would be a shoo-in, but it's not, because Nintendo's super careful with their license. And they don't give that out to everyone, not even Hasbro and Takara. So that got that got eliminated. Also, we're dealing with like Super Famicom versus the Genesis. So like the Mega Drive, because the Genesis is just the Mega Drive with a few details changed. Not the same between Super Famicom and Super Nintendo. So that's likely the reason. That's likely another reason, is because the consoles are not universal to the different shores. So you'd have to basically do a whole new toy for both sides. This way, with the Mega Drive and the PS1, you have like import interest. You could make one toy and people from both continents will buy it. But it's still crazy. It's still absolute insanity. Let's do a few that are just purely in the realm of Transformers. Just the weird ones that I enjoyed. And this one was another suggested one, but I actually do agree. It is one of the weirdest ones to come up with. Dispensor is actually a real thing. So in the live-action 07 movie, there was a transforming, basically the Allspark went off and started turning a whole bunch of things into just like ravenous robots. And one of them was a Mountain Dew dispenser. Well, license-wise, they can't get Mountain Dew without paying a bunch of fees. And alternate mode-wise, you can't really do a vending machine transformer. Not the most exciting thing in the world. You know what we can do? We can retool a figure from the 07 movie. We can, retool Payload, and we can actually make him into a Mountain Dew truck. And we can even give him his soda can launcher weapon that he had in the movie. Because why not? That alone is already weird enough. To actually make a toy out of that character is already weird enough. What sells it for me, what absolutely sets it over the moon for me, is the fact that on the top of the vehicle, and you can see it on the panel and over his shoulder, they printed a vending machine onto the top of this vehicle. So you can stand it up on its flat rear and actually pretend, hey, this is the vending machine he turned into. So it's a super weird way of doing it, but they technically did it. So it's this bizarre from concept to execution. I love it. I absolutely love that they got away with it. It also helps that I like that toy a lot more than most people do. Just saying. I mean, the next movie followed it up. We did a whole video about the Revenge of the Fallen Scouts, but I don't think any of them topped Ejector. It's a toaster. It's a transforming toaster, complete with a power cord dangling from it. And it's not even the toaster part of this equation that gets me. It's the little four-armed gremlin he turns into. That's the fun part for me, because it's so unique. Like, there's no transformer that looks like that. There's none. It's just super weird and super fun. And I love this sense of, like, we could just do whatever, and it's just a fun toy with, you know, barely any sense of logic to it. I wish we did more of this. I wish we had more of this still. Like, Ejector is awesome. I love it. So let's move on from toys that, you know, toys based on things that eject food. One more crossover, because I kind of screwed up the listing a little bit, but this one is still going to work a little bit differently, because we're talking about a toy turning into a toy, technically, or at the very least something that is very toyetic. How about the Hello Kitty Transformer? This thing is adorable for starters, but it's also one of those, like, really odd, never would have expected it crossovers. This is from the Q Transformer line. Remember, like, what was it? From around the time of Age of Extinction. They were coming out with these Transformers that were basically super simple. They're like little like penny racer / like Choro Q vehicles in vehicle mode, that kind of style. And they had very simple little transformations into cute chibi versions of the characters. And some of them are actually pretty decent for what they were. I had the Ironhide, and the Ironhide just felt like a nice little oddball Ironhide toy. But they did this. Which just hits this, like, super weird part of the toy spectrum. And again, a super weird crossover to actually think of. Now, of course, Hello Kitty, extremely popular brand in Japan, popular all over the world. Makes sense to actually want in a Transformer toy. It's still bizarre. It's still bizarre. You know, but then again, I think she's been a Gundam at this point too. She had a Solo Chogokin, weirdly enough. So Hello Kitty's gotten around. Hello Kitty's done a lot over the years to just be weird in her crossover pursuits. Not the only one, though. Not the other one. Here's where we really get into toy turning into a toy. I want you to realize how mental that is. And that is the Bear Bricks. The Bear Brick Transformers that actually did transform. So I want you to understand how mental this is. This is as if a Transformer turned into a Slinky or a Rubik's Cube. This is like a Transformer turning into, you know, like, I can't say a Tonka truck because we technically have that, even though it's a really cheap attempt at it. Point being, it's fun to me. It's just someone had the idea that our toy is going to transform into someone else's toy. Because if I remember right, it actually does turn into a scaled Bear Brick. Like, it's not the standard scale, the little ones. They did Transformers at that scale. But I remember this is a larger scale that they also do actual Bear Brick toys from. So this could sit in a Bear Brick collection and be absolutely in place and actually look fine. But you could also put it on an Optimus Prime shelf in robot mode, and that would look absolutely fine too. I've done a review of the Starscream. There's 4 of these, and they're all the same mold, with just different heads. But I did the one for Starscream, and it's actually not bad. It's a super bizarre toy, but it's not bad. It's actually well executed and kind of interesting. I give this full credit. It's doing something incredibly bizarre, but it gets away with it. It absolutely does. So this is, like, really high up on my list. But it's not what we're ending on. We are ending on a toy that I don't actually own. But whenever someone describes to me, like, oh man, this is such a weird Transformer, I go, ha 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 ha. Have you seen the hat? Have you seen the transforming hat? So Captimus Prime here transforms into a baseball hat. I don't know how else to describe it to you. Like I said, I've never actually owned it, but it's my favorite example, even more than the shoe. See, the shoe, I mean, I don't get shoe collecting to begin with. I understand it's a thing. I don't personally understand it, but hey, whatever. I'm not gonna rain on your parade here. Do you? But just the idea, because like if I think about this, A shoe has mass. A shoe has bulk. You know, you fill in the shoe. In just like keep in mind, like, you don't have to have the shoe completely hollow. Just like the inside where the ankle goes. And you have enough bulk to actually make that work as a transformer. It's still super bizarre, but you can make it work. Baseball caps. It's just a bill and a hollow wrap around your head. Now, yeah, they filled it up because you can't see it from the underside, etc. But still, just the mental image of like, hey, there's a transforming baseball cap. That alone I love. So I need to pick one of these up one day. I need to pick one of these up one day just for the absurdity. Because it's like my go-to punch of like, you think you know weird Transformers? Amateurs! But that's going to be a list for the day. Now, this is not technically a list of the weirdest Transformer toys out there. We've kind of already done that. This is just my personal favorites out of all of them, and for various reasons. Following, the request of the review. So, I hope you enjoyed. I hope that's just my thought process here. If you want to leave your favorite WTF Transformer in the comments below, please do so. We might put together a proper list, because I keep running across these terrible lists of weird Transformer toys out there. We might do something a little bit more with those later. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.
We parlay with the captain.
You think a werecroc is going to listen to elvish rules of piracy?
Of course it would be the freaking elves that invented parlay.
I had to think of a quick replacement for the French.